Okay, so today we are going to make a basic fidget spinner. You're going to need to open up a new Tinkercad design. So go to Tinkercad. You can watch this video along with your design in a split screen, toggle back and forth, or watch on a separate computer if you're in the classroom. You're going to create 3D design, and we're going to change the title right now. So go back to the assignment, and if you go right here, triple click or double click to highlight that, and then we're going to copy and Control C. So copy, Control C, and paste right here, paste, Control V. And we're going to change parts of this title to be what we want, okay? So main color, this is the color of the fidget spinner. So we are going to type the color of the fidget spinner here. We're going to delete this word. Now there are 8 color choices. If you go back to the modules, you can look at the color choices here. So if you want pearl white, you're going to write P white. If you want blue, you're going to write blue. These are the 8 color choices. You can go back to that page to see them. So that's what we start with. Sorry. So paste, and then back to the beginning. It's a very long title. We need the color at the beginning. I'm going to make my fidget spinner blue. Pin color. The pin color is what goes in the middle of the fidget spinner. You could have the pin color be the same one or a different one. I'm going to print the pins for everybody. So I'm going to choose a yellow pin color. Okay. So blue is what the fidget spinner will print in. Yellow will be the pin in the middle, or the bearing. Okay. Full name and last initial. So our first name and last initial. So Jill R. Okay, so first name and last initial. And it's easier for me if you capitalize each one. So first and last. And then cycle 5 period 2 grade 8A, and then everything else can stay the same. Okay, so this is title is similar to everybody else's but unique to your project. All right, now let's get started. So our fidget spinner, the maximum size is going to be 2 inches by 2 inches. We're going to make a spoke, and then we're going to rotate it. I'm going to demonstrate with different shapes. The heart is one that you'll see a lot because that shape is a really good shape for a fidget spinner. But I'm going to demonstrate with this polygon, this general polygon for now. Okay, so we'll bring on the polygon, and we're going to go to the top view. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to make one here, and a connector. Now that connector can be an arm, like a straight spoke, or it can be like a round circle, can be connecting all of the pieces that go around. You could have 2, you could have 4, you could have 6. You can even have odd numbers, but we're going to start with even numbers to make it easier, okay? So we'll put 1 here, and then we're going to make a connector. The connector will be the box or cube. So we're going to bring that out, okay? Now we're going to change the shape of the box. So we're going to make it skinny. Right now, this is a 1 by 1 inch box. If it's not 1 by 1 inch, then you probably don't have this set to inches, and you'd have to change this to inches. So we're going to change it from 1 by 1. We're going to make it a 1/4 inch wide. Okay, so that's 0.25. Enter. And then the length of this arm is going to be 1.5. Okay. And this arm is going to sit just on top of this polygon. Shh. Sorry, I'm recording this at home. Buddy, it's okay. Now, to get a good view, you can select them and click on Fit to View and then scroll out a little bit. We can move this down so that you want it just to be touching, okay? And we can change the snap grid later, but right now 1/8 of an inch is fine. So we've got this post, which is 1.5 inches or 1.5 inches by 1/4 inch or 0.25 inches. Okay, so 1.5 is the decimal, 0.25 is the decimal for the width. And then this we're just going to leave as is for now, okay? My measurements aren't showing. If I don't, I can bring the ruler over. And now I've got all my measurements showing. So when I click on here, this is the height, width, length, width, length. So these two things are really important, and the height is important. Now we're going to talk about the height. So once you get this at 1/4 by 1.5, and this can remain what it is, we're going to change the height of both of them. Right now they're both 1 inches high. Okay, you can select both of them to do it. Make it easier, working smart, not hard. Everything is going to be 1/4 inch tall, so 0.25. Okay, so you want to make sure this is 0.25, and you want to make sure this is 0.25. Next, we're going to duplicate this object, and we're going to bring it up here. Now, because this is a symmetrical object, we can just duplicate and we don't have to flip. So if we duplicate, it'll put it right on top of the other one. Copying and pasting would work, but it would move it over. So we're going to duplicate, and normally we would have to mirror this image, flip it, but because the flipped image is the same, it's not going to make a difference. I'm going to show you just because it's a good practice for when we do have to flip it. So this is a reflection tool. We can flip it horizontally or vertically. Because this object is symmetrical, vertically and horizontally, if we flip it, you're not going to see a difference. Okay? Now, you duplicated it first. So this is a second object on top of the first. We're going to use our arrow keys to move this up to the other end of this spoke. Okay? You don't want it off of there. You want it touching. So it should look like that at the corner, and it should look like that at this corner. So right now we have an object that is 3¼ inches tall. That's too tall. We need it to be 2 inches tall. Okay, so I'm going to move this down a bit, move that up a bit, and I'm going to check it again. 2 3/4 inches. You know what? I think what we'll do is we'll make this object here 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. Let's do that. That way we'll kind of have each end object, you know, whatever's going around the outside of your fidget, a good size to start with. We can change it later, is 0.5 by 0.5. And this would have been better to do here first. Actually, that's seems too small. Maybe not. .5 by 0.5. what I want is I want my overall dimension to be 2 inches, okay? Now this was, the post was 1.5, so 1.5 plus 0.5 would give me 2. So maybe we should make the post a little smaller. Let's make the post 1 inches. And then we put this back. There and there. Now let's see how big this is. 1 3/4. That's getting a little bit better. We can change the size of it once we're all done rotating it to make it 2 by 2. But we're close. So I like to get the size fairly close so we don't have to do a whole lot of size adjustments later. Sorry, that was a little bit extra. We probably didn't need to do that. We could have started with that. So 1/2 by 1/2. The post will make 1 inch long. And we've got that up there 1/2 by 1/2. Now, because we move things around, I want to make sure they're symmetrical. So I'm going to select this and align. And I want to align right here, okay? Left to right, I want to center this. Now, if I click here, that'll just put everything on top. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to undo, Control Z, or click here to undo, okay? I want to make sure that these two are perfectly balanced, and that looks good. So before you go and rotate and copy, it's really important to have this spoke balanced on all sides, okay? And you want 1 at each end if you're doing even numbers, okay? So like 2 or 4 or 6, 8, things like that, okay? So once we have this basic shape the way we want it, we are going to select all of them, and we are going to duplicate, and then we are going to rotate. Now, we're going to just do 4 to start with, okay? So we just need to rotate once. We can do it by hand, rotate 90 degrees like that, or we can do it by clicking here on the rotate tool and then typing our angle in. Okay? Now, that's the easiest fidget spinner to make. You can add text on these spokes, other decorations, things like that. We'll add the bearing to the center. One variation of this, if you don't like the arms holding it, you could always instead make the center be circular. So for example, this comes in at 1 by 1, and we'll leave it that. You just have to change the height. Remember, the height, we made 1/4 inch. Now, some people like to make the height a little lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 2 variations of the same thing. I'm going to copy and paste what we just did there. And I'm going to get rid of these centers. I'm going to put that there. Okay, so some people, what they like to do is they like this center part that holds the outsides to, instead of, let me zoom in a little bit, instead of being the same height, I'm going to go to the home. Remember, when you get lost, go home. And then I'm going to go fit to view. Okay, so you can see it from this side. Instead of this being the same height, a lot of people like when this is a little shorter. So if I make it 1/2 of a quarter, that's 0.125. Okay, that's an eighth. An eighth is 1/2 of a quarter. And I'm going to increase my resolution so you can see these numbers a little bit better. So that's a quarter, an eighth, 0.125. Okay, so an eighth is 0.125, and a quarter, the height of this object, is 0.25. So that makes these really pop, and then we will add the center spinner later. So that's 4 of them, okay? I'm going to show you another video where you can make a different number of spokes, okay? Thanks for watching. Go check out the second video for another variation.